Beloved friends, there comes a moment on the path when the old forms must fall away. For a long time, perhaps, you have knelt. You have bowed the head. You have sent words out into the universe, hoping they might reach a listening ear. And I ask you now, what has been the result of this prayer? Has it brought you the permanent and abiding peace you seek? Or have you found it to be a temporary comfort, a plea sent from a sense of separation? There is a secret, a divine mystery, that is waiting to be unveiled within your own consciousness. It is this, the prayer that reaches the heavens, is not the one that is spoken to God, but the one that is realized as God. Can you feel the immense shift there? Can you perceive the chasm that lies between a conversation with the infinite and the silent acknowledgement that you are that very infinity? We are not here to learn how to become better petitioners. We are here to awaken to the truth of our own being. The you that you believe yourself to be, with its problems and its needs, is not the one who prays. That one must grow still, must recede into a holy silence. For true prayer is not an asking, it is a listening. It is not a request for God to change your world, but the profound acceptance that the presence of God is your world, here and now. Let us, then, move from the outer court of begging to the inner sanctuary of knowing. Let us close the ears to the noise of want and open the soul to the silent, ceaseless flow of the divine. This is not a loss of prayer, but its glorious fulfillment. It is the end of separation and the beginning of oneness. If these words have found a home within you, if they have stirred a remembrance of your true nature, then I invite you to perform a sacred act. Let your engagement with this truth be a living confirmation of it. Subscribe to this channel as an act of devotion to your own awakening, a commitment to abide in this light. And in the comments below, speak the number 1 on 11. Let it not be a mere number, but your silent testament, a symbol of the one presence, the one life, and the one power expressing individually as you. Let it be your agreement with the truth you have heard this day. For a long time, perhaps you have knelt. You have bowed the head. You have sent words out into the universe, hoping they might reach a listening ear. And I ask you now, what has been the result of this prayer? This approach, this very structure of communication, is built upon a single, fundamental premise that remains unexamined in most lives. It is the premise of separation. It is the quiet, unquestioned belief that you are here and God is there, that you are a soul, small and perhaps troubled, and God is a being, vast and distant, and the gulf between you must be crossed by your earnestness, by the poetry of your words, by the sheer volume of your faith. This is the prayer of petition, the prayer of supplication, and its inherent limitation is this very architecture of duality. Think of your own life. You are faced with a challenge, perhaps a financial uncertainty. The bill arrives and the account is low. What is the immediate, almost instinctual reaction of the conditioned mind? It is to cry out, "Please, God, let there be a solution." Send the money, open a door, or perhaps it is a matter of health. a pain in the body that will not subside. The prayer becomes, "Please God, take this from me. Heal this body." Now, observe the consciousness from which this prayer arises. It is a consciousness of lack. It is a consciousness of fear. It is a consciousness that believes it is separate from the very source of wholeness and supply it is begging for. You are, in effect, affirming your lack, your sickness, your separation, and then asking a separate God to come and fix the situation you have just powerfully affirmed as real. This is the great cosmic paradox that keeps the seeker bound in a cycle of temporary reprieves, but never permanent peace. The answer that comes, if it comes, often feels external. A check arrives, the pain diminishes, and you attribute it to God having heard you. But what happens when the next bill comes? What happens when a new pain appears? The cycle begins again. You are like a tenant in a house, constantly calling the landlord to fix the leaks and repair the walls, never realizing that you are, in truth, the owner of the entire estate. The landlord may fix this leak, but another will appear tomorrow, and your entire existence becomes one of dependency on a force that seems to operate outside of yourself. This relationship is not one of power, nor is it one of true freedom. It is the relationship of a subject to a king, and a subject is always at the mercy of the king's will. This sense of separation is the very root of the human dilemma. When you pray to God from this place, you are reinforcing the walls of your own prison with every sincere word. You are saying, through your very action, I am not whole. I am not complete. I am not the divine life itself. And the universe, in its infinite intelligence, mirrors this belief back to you. It gives you an experience of a life where wholeness is something to be attained, where peace is something to be granted, where health is a conditional state dependent on a power you do not possess. This is the profound ineffectiveness hidden within the most well-intentioned prayer. It fails not because God is not listening, but because the premise of the prayer itself is a denial of the oneness that is the only reality. The thrill, the great turning point in your spiritual journey, comes not when your prayers are answered, but when you begin to question the very nature of the one who is praying. Who is this I that feels poor? Who is this I that feels sick? Who is this I that feels abandoned? Is that the I of your true being? Or is it a phantom, a collection of thoughts, memories, and fears that has masqueraded as you? When you begin this sacred inquiry, the entire structure of petitionary prayer begins to crumble. It loses its foundation. You can no longer comfortably kneel as a separate self, because you are no longer sure who is kneeling. This is not a loss. It is the greatest gain. It is the necessary and glorious collapse of the old form, making way for a new consciousness to be born. This collapse is the prerequisite for the next stage of the journey, where prayer is not an act of speaking, but a state of listening, not a cry from the valley, but a silent acknowledgement from the mountaintop that you already are. This necessary and glorious collapse of the old form, this sacred disintegration of the one who kneels in separation makes way for an entirely new dimension of being to be born. It is from the fertile silence of this collapse that we can begin to perceive the fundamental shift, the seismic movement in consciousness from praying to God to the breathtaking realization of praying as God. This is not a new technique to learn. It is a new identity to awaken to. It is the difference between standing outside a palace, shouting your requests over the wall, and suddenly realizing you have been the monarch residing within the entire time, and the entire kingdom is the expression of your own consciousness. Consider the sun. The sun does not send out a request for light. It does not pray, "Oh, that I may be bright and warm today." It simply is light. Its very nature is to radiate, to shine, to give of itself without petition or thought. Its being is its expression. This is the perfect metaphor for praying as God. You are not asking the infinite to be loving. You are abiding as the infinite love itself. And from that state of being, love becomes your natural emanation. You are not begging for peace. You are settling into the truth that you are the very substance of that peace. And from that settledness, a profound calm radiates into every corner of your experience. The prayer is no longer an action you perform. It is the state of consciousness you are. Let us bring this into the practical arena of your daily life. You are about to enter a difficult conversation. The old pattern, the prayer of separation, would be to clench your hands and think, "Please, God, let this go well. Don't let me get angry. Make them understand me." Notice the tension, the fear, the sense of being a small self walking into a battlefield, hoping for divine backup. Now, let us approach the same moment from the consciousness of praying as God. In the moments before the conversation, you become still. You do not ask for anything. You turn within, past the anxious personality, and you consciously acknowledge the truth. I am the very expression of divine harmony. I am the very substance of intelligent, compassionate wisdom. This is not an affirmation to be repeated, but a reality to be recognized. You are not asking harmony to come. You are acknowledging that it is what you are, here and now. You then enter the conversation not as a beggar of peace, but as its very embodiment. Your words, your tone, your listening, all are now infused with a quality they never could have had when they were sourced from a sense of lack and separation. Or take the experience of lack. The old prayer says, "God, please give me what I need." The new consciousness, the prayer as God, understands a profound spiritual principle. The source and the supply are one. You cannot be separate from what you need, because what you need is an expression of the very thing you are. So, you do not beg for supply. You turn within and acknowledge, I am the infinite substance, the limitless supply, individualized here and now as my consciousness. You abide in that feeling, not of waiting for a check, but of being the very wealth of the universe. This shifts your entire magnetic field. You begin to think from abundance, act from abundance, and see opportunities where before you saw only closed doors. You are not attracting supply from the outside. You are recognizing the omnipresent substance expressing as your life, and your outer world has no choice but to conform to this inner truth. This shift is the most important one you will ever make. It moves you from being a consumer of grace to being a fountainhead of grace. It transforms your life from a series of problems to be solved by a distant deity into a glorious unfolding of the divine nature that you are. The thrill is that you are no longer a passenger in the vehicle of your life, sending prayers up to a driver you cannot see. You have come to realize you are the vehicle, the road, and the journey itself, and the consciousness that guides it all is the one I am-ness, the single, supreme identity in which all things live and move and have their being. This profound shift in identity, from the beggar at the gate to the sovereign of the realm, naturally and inevitably leads us to a new understanding of what prayer actually is. If we are not the separate self petitioning a separate God, then the entire activity of prayer must be reimagined. It is here we discover the true nature of prayer, not as an act of speaking, but as a profound state of listening. It is not a broadcast sent out into the ether, but a deep, receptive silence that allows the eternal broadcast of truth to be heard. This is the sacred art of inner listening, the cultivation of a quiet so deep that the still, small voice becomes the only voice. Think of your mind in its ordinary state. It is a cacophony of thoughts, a relentless stream of commentary, memory, and anticipation. It is like a radio constantly tuned to a noisy station, broadcasting your worries, your plans, your regrets. To send a verbal prayer from this state of consciousness is like trying to whisper a request into a friend's ear while you are both standing next to a roaring jet engine. The message, no matter how sincere, is lost in the noise. The first and most essential step in true prayer, then, is not to speak, but to turn down the volume of the personal self. This is the meaning of be still and know. The stillness is not a prelude to the knowing. The stillness is the knowing. This is where we move from theory into the tangible practice of your daily life. You are sitting in your home, and a wave of anxiety about the future washes over you. The old, petitionary model would have you cry out, "God, please take this anxiety from me! Give me peace." But now, understanding the principle of oneness, you approach it differently. You do not fight the feeling. You do not even speak to it. You simply become still. You sit in a chair, you close your eyes, and you consciously withdraw your attention from the chaotic radio station of your thoughts. You feel your breath. You become aware of the space around you. You are not seeking a specific answer or a specific feeling. You are simply making space. You are listening. You are, in a very real sense, standing at the door of your own consciousness, waiting, attentive, receptive. And what is it you are listening for? It is not a voice with words, though it may sometimes come as an intuitive knowing, a sudden clarity. Primarily, you are listening for a presence. You are making yourself available for a quality of being. In that silence, as the chattering of your personal mind begins to recede, something else begins to emerge. It is a feeling of peace that was not manufactured by your will. It is a sense of solidity that was not there a moment before. It is an intelligent, loving presence that feels simultaneously deeply personal and infinitely vast. This is not something you created. This is something you have allowed. You have, through the act of silent listening, tuned your receiver to the frequency of your own divine being. The anxiety may not vanish in an instant, but it is now surrounded by a context of peace so immense that its power is neutralized. It is no longer a tsunami threatening to drown you, but a mere ripple on the surface of a vast, calm ocean. This practice of listening is the very heart of praying as God. When you abide in this silence, you are not a man praying to God. You are the Christ consciousness, the I am, acknowledging its own reality. You are the infinite listening to itself. The acknowledgement is the prayer. The awareness is the communion. In this space, there is no you and God to have a conversation. There is only the one, being what it is, conscious of itself. This is the fulfillment of every prayer ever uttered. Every plea for peace was a groping for this silence. Every cry for love was a yearning for this conscious union. Every request for guidance was a desire for this intuitive knowing that flows from the silence. When you practice this, you are not neglecting your problems. You are going to the only source from which a true and lasting solution can ever flow. You are, at last, coming home. And so, as we learn to rest in this holy silence, to listen not with the ear, but with the entirety of our being, a revelation of staggering proportions begins to dawn. It is not a new piece of information. It is the awakening to your true identity. This listening, this profound receptivity unveils the listener. This awareness, this conscious presence reveals its own source. And what is revealed is that the peace you feel is not something given to you. It is what you are. The love that flows is not something you receive. It is the very substance of your being. The intelligence that guides is not an external voice. It is your own native state. This is the ultimate discovery. The divine itself is not a separate entity you connect with in prayer, but the very core of your own I am-ness. This is the great mystery that has been hidden in plain sight through the ages. You have been seeking God as if he were a lost object, when all the while God is the seeker, God is the seeking, and God is the very consciousness in which the search is taking place. To pray as God is to realize this. It is to shift from the frantic search for a missing father to the calm, abiding recognition that you are the beloved Son in whom the Father is well pleased, not because of anything you have done, but because you and the Father are one. The thrill of this cannot be overstated. It is the end of the spiritual search and the beginning of a spiritual life. It is the dissolution of the seeker into the sought. Let this truth move from theological concept to lived experience. Consider a moment of profound creativity, perhaps when you are writing or painting or even solving a complex problem at work. There comes a point where the conscious, striving mind gives up. It hits a wall. And then, if you are quiet, something else takes over. Ideas flow, connections are made, and the work seems to do itself. Where did that come from? The old consciousness would say, I was inspired. The new awakening understands, I was abiding as the infinite intelligence, and it expressed naturally, effortlessly, as my own thought. You were not a vessel being filled by an external genius. You were the genius, operating from a level of your own being that is never separate from the source of all ideas. Or consider a moment of unexpected compassion. You encounter a stranger in distress, and without a single thought, a wave of genuine empathy and a desire to help arises within you. The mind, catching up later, might claim credit, but in that pure moment, there was no separate. You deciding to be compassionate. There was only compassion expressing itself. What was that? It was not you, the personality, performing a virtuous act. It was the divine love, which is your true nature, recognizing itself in another form and flowing forth. You were not being loving, you were being love itself. This is not a semantic difference, it is a chasm in consciousness. One reinforces the separate ego, the other annihilates it in the fire of oneness. This awakening is not a one-time event that transports you to a permanent mountaintop. It is a moment-by-moment remembering, a continuous returning to the truth of what you are, especially when the world of appearances screams otherwise. When fear arises, you do not fight it as a separate self. You remember, I am the very substance of divine peace, and this fear is a transient shadow passing over me, but it is not me. When lack appears, you do not beg for supply. You remember, I am the infinite substance itself, and this appearance of lack has no reality in the truth of my being. This is the practice. This is the prayer. It is a constant, gentle, yet firm alignment of your conscious awareness with the truth of your identity. You are not trying to become God. You are accepting that you could never be anything else. The separate self with its problems and its prayers was a dream, a compelling illusion. The awakening is to the one I am, who was dreaming, and who now is awake, knowing itself as the only presence, the only power, and the only life there is. And so we arrive at the glorious destination, not as a place we have traveled to, but as a truth we have remembered. This shift from the outer court to the inner sanctuary, from the petitioner to the presence, is the final and most beautiful fulfillment of prayer itself. It is not that prayer ends, it is that it reaches its intended maturity. The childish conversation with a separate deity evolves into the conscious union with the one divine source. This is the realization of oneness, where the one who prays and the one prayed to are understood to be a single, indivisible being. The separation was the illusion, the dream from which we are now awakening. And in this awakening, every aspect of life becomes a continuous, living prayer, a silent communion where nothing is asked for because everything is already known and already is. This state of oneness is not a blank emptiness or a passive absorption. It is a dynamic, vibrant, and creative stillness. It is the understanding that the infinite I am is not a monolithic singularity, but an infinitely diverse oneness, expressing uniquely and perfectly as every individual form. When you pray as God, you are not annihilating your individuality, you are fulfilling it. You are allowing the one life to live its life as you in a way that has never been expressed before and will never be expressed again. Your unique perspective, your particular gifts, your specific journey. All of these become the perfect vehicle for the divine to experience and express itself in the world of form. The thrill is that you lose nothing of value. You only lose the limitation, the fear, and the sense of isolation that defined the old sense of self. You become more yourself than you have ever been, because you are no longer confused with the temporary costume of personality, but are established in the eternal truth of your being. Let this truth permeate the most ordinary moments of your day. You are walking in a crowded street. The old consciousness saw separate entities, strangers, a world of others. The consciousness of oneness perceives the same one life, the same I am, pulsating within a million different forms. You are not looking at other people, you are the one life looking at itself. This does not happen as a philosophical thought, but as a felt sense, a knowing in your heart. The judgment, the comparison, the fear of the other, these simply cannot survive in this atmosphere. Your walk becomes a moving meditation, a silent celebration of the infinite diversity of the one self. Or consider a moment of profound personal success. You achieve a long-sought goal. The old self would have puffed up with pride, claiming the achievement as its own, storing it as a trophy for the ego. The consciousness of oneness allows for a completely different experience. There is a deep, quiet joy, but it is free from the inflation of pride. You understand that the intelligence that conceived the plan, the strength that executed it, and the grace that opened the doors were all the flowing of the one divine being through you. You feel a profound gratitude, but it is not the gratitude of a servant to a master. It is the gratitude of a wave to the ocean, a gratitude that knows the wave and the ocean were never two. You are grateful to be the very thing you are thanking. This is the ultimate freedom. In this oneness, you are no longer buffeted by the praise or blame of the world, for you know that both are directed at a mirage. You are no longer terrified by loss, for you know you can never be separated from the source that you are. You engage with the world with a lightness and a love that is not your own, because it is the world loving itself through you. The prayer that began as a desperate cry from the valley has become the silent, joyous song of the mountaintop, and you have discovered that the valley and the mountaintop were always within you, and you were always the vast sky that holds them both. This is the peace that passes all understanding, not because it is a mystery to be solved, but because it is your native state, waiting only for your conscious return.